Time to die! Might controls everything.
Alright, so for the first part of this video, I'm going to go over a little bit on why Vergil is such a powerful anchor character. Not that he's a bad point character, so before you go and berate me in the YouTube comments telling me to use a round trip glitch, to use Vajra and Jam Session, I already know all that. But that's not what this video is going to be about. This video is about planning and executing a Vergil X Factor comeback, which is really important in this game because a lot of teams out there rely on Vergil anchor. Well, maybe not rely, but they have Vergil as an anchor just in case the first part of their game plan doesn't work out, which happens quite often in this game because, you know, there's just some stuff you're not going to be able to block, and you have to look at the game entirely. You have to plan for the end game as well as, you know, the important beginning of the game. So why is he such a powerful anchor character? Well, unlike other fighting games, you can't just build meter whiffing moves, and meter is really important for Vergil. Like Spiral Swords, this is the only super that, you know, makes him kind of viable in neutral. I'm gonna get a lot of hate for saying that, but it's true when it comes to high level play. So the idea is that you want to compound, you know, the bonuses from your power-up supers with X Factor. X Factor makes him just super hard to block, and it makes a lot of his moves safer. And then you know, you pair it with Devil Trigger, and it makes him like ridiculously good. And not to mention, he has one of the longest X Factor times in the game for whatever reason. Here, I'll show you with the with Vergil versus Dante X Factor. Notice I activated Vergil's a little bit earlier than Dante's. Alright, Dante's is ending, and then Vergil's is gonna end. I mean, that's a pretty good amount, and when you combine that with how fast he kills in Devil Trigger, it's kind of silly. So more reasons why he's such a powerful anchor character is that he gains a lot of new combos in X Factor, especially in Devil Trigger. A lot of characters have stuff like this, but this is Vergil. Like, he has cross-up that's really hard to block, and it looks like Judgment Cut, so you can get, you know, 50-50 really easily. And he can combo off throws and kill you. Pretty much anything he touches you with, if you get hit, you're gonna die. Not to mention, just because he's an X Factor character doesn't mean that his assist is useless. Like Phoenix, his is actually really useful for a lot of characters. Like Dante. Dante always wants to end a combo in the corner, right? And that assist lets him do that. It's also really good in neutral too, as like an incoming setup assist, stuff like that. So he's a really good anchor character, not just because of X Factor, because his assist is just really good.
I need more power!
So in this part of the video, I'm going to go over a couple of combo techniques that are really important to know in X Factor 2 and X Factor 3. The first one, and probably the most important one, is high time, teleport cancel, and the super jump, light, medium, S. And why that's important is because you're going to get a lot of hard knockdown, either from Helmbreaker or from a throw. So the trick to doing this is to kind of teleport earlier than you think, and then super jump earlier than you think. You kind of buffer the super jump after the teleport. Now this becomes a lot easier in Double Trigger, just because you're so much faster. And obviously it becomes a lot easier in higher X Factor. Right now I'm in X Factor 2. So just know that it does work in X Factor 2, no double trigger. It's just a little bit more difficult, and you pretty much get a kill. The next technique you're gonna need to know is how to convert off of a raw rapid slash. In X Factor 2 and X Factor 3, you can actually combo off of a rapid slash without using spiral swords. Now it's really hard X Factor 2 without double trigger. It's possible, but I wouldn't count on it. So double trigger is gonna be really easy. And it actually gets easier the closer you are when you start the rapid slash. You pop up a little bit higher and you recover a little bit earlier. So far away, it might not even be possible.
Here I am.
So that's how you do that. And you notice how after the rapid slash combo I go into the high time teleport cancel super jump technique. Pretty much gonna tie in all of these techniques to be able to kill. Alright, so this next technique is kind of a scummy one. Basically what I do is I just throw out a random air dimension slash. And what you're hoping for is that it crosses up. Do you see how Doom wiggles around right there? It's because you're actually crossing up a couple of times. Ideally you want to have a double trigger bar loaded up to make it a lot easier to kill. The reason is because once they get hit by this, the hit stun deterioration is actually kind of high. So it's going to be really hard to kill them without using a meter or, you know, double trigger. So X Factor 3. At this point, it's gonna drop, see? Because of the hit stun deterioration, how it works with Dimension Slash. So sometimes I'll just come in and do this, like with my Anchor Vergil coming in last, and on incoming, if they don't have a really good meaty setup, I will just throw this out. It's a good way to start your comeback too. Because sometimes what people will do is they'll call an assist and then go for like some kind of mix-up. But if they're not ready for this, they're pretty much boned. So what I did there was I teleported behind. Sometimes you'll want to do that if you want to like switch sides. Say you're coming in from the left side here, and then you hit them with that. Teleport behind, double trigger. Just messed that up, but that way you get the corner. Alright, this is kind of a relatively new technique. I only just started doing this, and it involves an infinite in at least X Factor 2 with double trigger on. What it is it's pretty much high time into lunar phase in the corner infinite. That only works on like bigger characters. I don't really have a list yet, but I will have one, and I'll stick it in the description on the YouTube page when I do compile one. But basically, it works on the kind of the taller, medium-sized characters in the game. It works on Doom. It works on Vergil. reason this is important is because there are occasions where you're actually going to run out of hits done before you can actually kill them. So say one of the common ones is you get a air dimension slash confirm. You're not going to be able to kill with just the high time super jump flip. You're going to have to use this eventually. Another scenario is say you have no meter left, but you still have X factor. And let's say you get an air throw. Let me reset my meter. And this is how you would maximize the situation. So basically how you do it is just how it looks. You get them into knockdown state, have double trigger on. Make sure you use the ground mounts already. High time, teleport cancel early, and then lunar phase as soon as you can.
Sorry I was late for the party.
In this section of the video, I'm going to go over a couple of really nasty and dirty incoming setups and some nasty neutral mix-ups where you're pretty much guaranteed to open up your opponent. So this incoming setup is a pretty solid one you'll see a lot of players do. So that was the same side variant where it looks like you're going to cross up underneath, but you don't. And that's a cross-up variant. So it's pretty much a 50-50 because it is so hard to react to Vergil's dash while he's in X Factor and double trigger. And another thing you can do is make them block the round trip. Do something like that. So that was same side, then they blocked it because like you're just supposed to block the round trip. And then it was a cross-up rapid slash. This next incoming setup is something I like to use a lot, and it's just really awkward to block. And if you don't know about it, you're gonna get hit by it the first couple of times. So that was a cross-up, and it doesn't look like it, but if you're not holding forward there, you died. And the reason that works is because of the way your character comes in when your previous character dies. You come in advancing forward, right? And how this works is Vergil teleports on top of you, which usually isn't a cross-up, but since your character is coming forward, coming in, dropping forward, you actually cross up Vergil, and then the round trip tracks Vergil, so it acts like a cross up. And the trick to doing this is throwing the round trip early, and then when it comes back into the screen, that's when you teleport. So you want to make sure that the round trip is into the screen, and then teleport right on top of him, and that's a cross up. And a dead character in most cases. So the variant to that mix-up is to basically just teleport to the front and standing medium. You want to use that if it's a situation where it's like they know about that mix-up. Because you really can't react to it. If you know about it and you see someone throw a ground round trip before you come in, you're gonna start holding forward, and you're dead. So it's really a 50-50. So this incoming mix-up is pretty much based on the same principle as the last one, where you have the round trip do the work and you just have it follow Vergil to either create a cross-up or a non-cross-up. So what we're gonna do is kill a character, super jump, release the round trip, let it come back into the screen, teleport behind. And this will be the non-cross-up variant. Cross up again. So those are pretty much the only 3 incoming 50-50s you're gonna need. You really have a 50% chance of killing any character that comes in as long as you have double trigger and X Factor still. And why double trigger is important for this round trip setup is because the round trip is a lot bigger, so it's a lot easier to hit them with. These next few setups I really like to use if for whatever reason they were able to survive my incoming mix-up. And what they involve is spending 2 meters, 1 on spiral swords and 1 on the crown. And the reason you're using the crown is to get them out of block stun so that you can force either a throw setup, a cross up, or a non-cross up. And each setup kills. So this is what they look like. This is the throw variant. And this is a cross up variant. And for a non-cross-up, you can just do whatever you want. You can do The reason these are really good is because even if they block the mix-up, they still have to force, they're still forced to deal with the crown on them. So it's still your turn to play for a while. And another reason why it's really good is the swords with X Factor on does crazy damage. Look at this. 463k, and there's even more with double trigger on.
Don't get so cocky.
Okay, so in this last portion of this video guide, I'm going to go over a few of Anchor Vergil's weaknesses and some ways to sort of circumvent them. Vergil's not particularly good on his incoming since he has a real lack of air mobility, no double jump, and no air dash means he's more likely to get hit by gravity mix-ups. And when I say gravity, I mean like the trajectory in which characters fall in with like forward momentum. As you see here. So what that means is it's really easy to get hit by like a left-right mix-up when you're coming in as Vergil. So in double trigger, he does gain double jump and horizontal air dashes, and I'll go over a little bit on how to get double triggered Vergil as Anchor later on. So vanilla Vergil, his options are pretty limited. You can either Helmbreaker on incoming, Dimension Slash, or just straight up block. But no one really wants to just straight up block because, you know, usually you just die trying to block. It's so hard to block a lot of left-right things that characters can do, especially characters like Wolverine and even other Vergils. So what people are gonna do, they're gonna try to come in and Helmbreaker and Dimension Slash. You would think those were pretty good, but at this point in the game, most really good players are gonna have options to deal with that kind of stuff. Like I'll show you here.
Level 1. Yes. Level 1. Yes.
There I tried to Helmbreaker on incoming and menu.
Level 1.
Punished him for it. I'm gonna try to Dimension Slash. Those are really good if you can identify that your opponent isn't gonna do like a really good meaty setup on you. Otherwise, if you're playing someone good, just expect them to know that you're gonna be trying some of that stuff. So yeah, when Vergil's your anchor, you want to really avoid having your first two characters die on point as much as possible. So I'll go over a few ways to get Vergil in safely in the next clip. There are a couple ways to get Vergil in safely. The most obvious one being to just DHC into him with your second character, because like that's the most intuitive, right? Preferably your second character has good incoming options like an air dash or a double jump, so just to increase your chances of your endgame being intact. Common characters that go second on teams are characters like Dr. Doom and Dante, not only because they have pretty good solid defensive options on incoming, but also because they're considered the best support characters in the game, so it just makes sense that they go second. So a common thing that will happen is point character will die and I'll just air dash up, throw some photons, and then DHC. Keep in mind that when your character comes in, you have to wait a good 5 seconds or so before you can actually DHC. So, if I were to come in and just did a photon array super like right away, the game just wouldn't let me DHC Vergil. So keep that in mind. That's really important. So yeah, the DHT option is a really good, solid decision-making choice at that point, especially if you have a bad matchup that's really not in your favor, like Doom versus Hawkeye or Doom versus Dormammu or Dante versus, well, anyone because Dante sucks. But yeah, this is really where your endgame decision-making skills are going to shine or be exposed the most. You really have to know how to manage your life and X Factor characters wisely at this point, depending on, the matchups of your remaining characters. Like, you may want to save both Vergil and Doom, or sacrifice Doom somehow. The only thing you want to try to prevent is to sacrifice your second character while he's on point. So one of my favorite ways to do that is to just keep spamming Doom assist after I've DC'd or after I've draw tagged in, and I'll just keep spamming Doom and trying to, really try to get him killed. I'm not gonna always do this. It depends on how much life Doom has left and how much life they have left. Sometimes I'll want both characters to make my comeback. Sometimes I'll be in such a deficit that I really need the X Factor, the level 3 Vergil X Factor time to kill, 3 characters or whatnot. Oh, another little technique I like to do with the Doom Vergil shell in particular is, so instead of wasting 2 meters to DHC into Vergil safely, I'll try to fight it out a little bit, try to zone, try to gauge what my opponent is doing, right? If they're letting me just throw these and they're full screen like that, I can always raw tag because the photons will cover me. And that'll save me 2 bars with my X Factor Vergil. 2 bars could make or break the game. It's either a crown or a double trigger or an extra spiral swords. So, I mean, Doom can do this really well. I'm sure some other characters can. Like, I imagine Dante can do it with hysteric missiles, full screen or something like that. You can get them to block it, or like a full screen airplay. So you want to explore this a little bit more with your team and see what you can come out with, in terms of saving meter while getting Vergil at the same time. And then the alternative option to all this is being able to DHC into double trigger during a combo, which I'll show you next. It requires a little bit more work and requires some creativity with whatever team you have. So when Vergil's double triggered and he's on anchor, the chances of him surviving on incoming is raised exponentially just because he has a double jump. This is probably the most optimal way of getting an Anchor Vergil into double trigger mode. And mind you, this is off of an air throw, or ground throw, sorry.
Such a feeble attempt. Danger! Time to die! Level 3!
So Vergil's in double trigger mode now, and he can double jump when he has to come in. So it's going to be really hard to cross him up, and he has to access the air dash. And if you look at my team order, you can see it's still preserved because of the way the tag combo worked. So play around with your team, try to come up with a combo similar to this. You know, if you can kill them, even better. Alright, that concludes my little Anchor Vergil guide. Hope you guys enjoyed it, or at least learned a thing or two. Just wanted to give a bit of sort of insight on the thought process behind my Anchor Vergil and some tips on being even more effective with them. Once again, thanks to all you FGTVLive supporters, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/FGTVTube. Not FGTVLive, FGTVTube. Also, you can follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/FGTVLive, and you can follow me personally at twitter.com/shady_K. Once again, thanks a lot, and I love you. Bye.